I did advise Law Director Limbian to reach out for our outside counsel to send a certified notice to the Mitchell-Joseph family. We've sent it out to them and let them know that they are now outside of their legal obligation for the grant that we provided for them. Let me be very clear. I would rather have the jobs than three buildings that are empty without production. We know we need these jobs, and like I mentioned earlier, it's time to produce. That's where we are. Even during the COVID-19, many of the businesses that are still thriving, essential business, were deemed in grocery stores. They were still thriving during the pandemic. So COVID might have slowed this operation down. However, I'm obligated as a mayor. I've been given a job from the citizens to make sure that there are things that need to happen will happen. So that's the first step that we've taken as it relates to the chill can. As an update, we will have a copy for everyone that's here. We have not heard back from the company. We've not heard back from their attorneys. And so we're going to take this route, and hopefully, I think it gives them 60 days out, but their legal obligation and their benchmarks have been missed, and we're now moving on to legal options for the city of Youngstown, because I think it's time that we've displaced residents over there. We were promised so many jobs. Those jobs have not happened, and these are taxpayers' dollars. These are public dollars that were spent on this project, and the return would have been to get people actively working, and right now we need people to work, and that's not happening. So Attorney Lemon, you want to add to any of the legal conversation that we're having with them? But this is just one for our first step to really put them on notice that they've missed the benchmarks, and as mayor, I'm obligated to make sure that if we given that public dollars, even if it was prior to me, I want them to be accountable for their dollars. Attorney Lemon.
Thank you. I think if it was implicit, if the mayor didn't say it specifically, that it's still the hope that eventually cans that chill on their own come out of that facility, although that seems highly unlikely at this point. We hope that, given the parameters of the agreement, that in 60 days, Mr. Joseph shows us that he means business and not just rhetoric, and that he'll start to make good on his promises. Unfortunately, today that hasn't happened.
We'll take a couple questions.
What happens after 60 days?
Well, that's legal, for the legals to decide. Jeff may be able to answer that.
We've engaged Joe Hauser at Manchester because he was there at the outset of the development agreement, and we will be asking council to initiate action in court to return the monies granted by the city.
What about property?
Well, monies and property, I should have said, yes.
Yeah.
How much money are we talking?
I think that's yet to be determined, given, I believe it's in excess of 1.5 million, but that does not account for all of the other pieces of property that, which the mayor said people were displaced in order to try to make this a viable plant.
Dan probably knows exactly your numbers. He wrote a great piece on it.
Why now, and why not earlier? This has been going on for so many years, Mayor. What prompted this all of a sudden? I mean, he hasn't really made much progress over there over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think, Dan, it's actually been an ongoing conversation. So we've been in constant communication with them. You know, when the third building went up, when the second building up, we've had tours of the place with machineries. I think many of you had an opportunity to come and see that there was progress happening. I just think it became apparent that after even during even during the COVID-19, there looked to be not much production going on. So the time has run out, and it's time to produce, and that has not happened. This project has been on for some time. This is prior to Tito Brown's administration. So you look at things, you assess things, and in my first year I assessed that the things were still happening. The second year, we were in communications like, when are we looking? And then you guys had our conversation with Joseph, Mr. Joseph and his family. He's come in several times. He's had contracts, and I continue to hear the same story. And that's what's really prompted me. I hear the same story time and time again, and the voters and the citizens deserve to hear something different and to see action, and that's why we've taken this direction.
Has he received has he received any benefit from the tax abatement, or that has not kicked in yet?
Yeah, I don't know the direct answer to that. I know that he's talked about the tax abatement, so I would have to get you the further details from economic development.
I think that's a prospective issue, but we'll have to consult with the finance director to make certain about that.
How much land does the city still own on that property?
Yeah.
There are several pieces dotted throughout that parcel. A lot of those have not been transferred over as part of this whole problem. So I couldn't tell you the specific number, but I know throughout the whole area of development, there are several pieces that are still in
Do
city
you
owned.
know if any of that property is part of Joseph's development in terms of the buildings where they're placed?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know, and we don't have the details about the particulars, Dan. I'd be the last person to tell you that, the 10 parcels, there's one building on there, or, there's no buildings on the property. So that's still to determine. That's why we're taking, make sure that everything that the city owns, or what the Joseph company has as well, it's all on the table. And that was part of the original deal. I can't speak for you. I don't know if I was not in the room when this deal started. And what was the thought behind, giving him the property or having the property developed, and how they decided, this property would not transfer or this property would transfer over. So that's probably going to be another issue to deal with as well.
We're still in the weeds, and we hope that something viable can come out of this, although I think over the next year or two, if you have cans that you need chilled, you better buy ice.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Is this a hard line, or, it seems hard, but it seems like you're willing to negotiate with them a little bit.
At the end of the day, I want jobs for Youngstown residents. And if they can produce the jobs for the residents of the city of Youngstown, I'm open to it. But I can't continue to hear the same story over and over and over and not get the results. I need the results. If you can meet the benchmarks, you can meet those benchmarks for the citizens to get the jobs right here in the city, I'm open to that. But I can't hear the same story time and time again.
Have you had interest in that property from another party?
We've had many people to tell you what to do with it. People have.
Well,
yeah,
no,
companies.
companies.
There are. People say, "I'll take it. I'll do this. I'll do that." But that's not even a conversation to have when you don't control the land, and that's not something we have control over right now. So that's when we get to that point. I'm sure. I'll be honest with you. There will probably be 10 others that say, oh, "I'll take it." It's one thing to take it, but also to invest in it. We want to make sure they're going to invest in it.
So what are the benchmarks that they have to meet for the next 60 days?
I think it's in the letter.
Yeah, we have them all listed. It would probably be easier to have you read it than.
Let me try to reiterate it. Any other questions?
I was just curious, what's the latest story from the Joseph family on the property? Have they sent any updates lately?
And that's the thing. We've had Zoom. We had scheduled to have weekly Zooms or biweekly with them just to kind of get an update where we were. And we've had the same response. We're waiting for the big contract. The contract's coming. When we have this contract, it'll be amazing. And I continue to hear the same story over and over. And it's just time for me to say, listen, I hear you. That sounds great. But for me to tell Miss Johnson that her grandson needs a job in the city of Youngstown and I can't deliver, or he can't go and put a job application in because there are no jobs. But we spent public dollars to do so. That's where we said, no, I hear you. That'll be great if that happens, but here's what we have to do. Here's my legal obligation. Here's my obligations to the citizens and the voters of Youngstown.
So if you don't see anything, you will pursue not only getting back the 1.5 million and the money that was used for demolition and to take ownership of property, but also seek to take ownership of the land where the Chiltern plant is supposed to be.
Dave, all those options are on the table for me. I don't think we're not dancing around this conversation. It's a straightforward conversation. Can you produce what you said that you would do? If not, we need to start peeling back those pieces that we can control.
But there's no way they're going to be able to hire 150 people in 60 days.
Yeah, Dave, that's not for me to decide. That's for them to decide. I just need to put some things out there and let them know. Here's where we are. Here's what you need to do. That's us saying that. The onus is on him and his company to make good on what they said they would do.
What would you say to someone who said this is, your primary is 6 weeks away, 5 weeks away. You're waiting until now, right before the primary election, to make this an issue.
I can tell you that I've wanted to initiate this months ago, and I was advised by my legal team, let's talk to his attorneys, let's talk through the legal. But everything happens for a reason, Dave. And what we decided, this is not a political for me. You know, you guys know me well enough to know. I wanted to do this back in the summertime, and we looked at the legal piece. We brought in Manchester and Bennett to really have that conversation, to reach out. We've even had the Joseph family had another attorney. So this is something that needed to happen. Well, you can say it's impeccable time or good timing, Dave, but it's the timing of it right now. We're just making it happen.
To that point, the mayor clearly told me 9 months ago that this cannot continue to go on the way it's gone on. And given the COVID element, we bought into some of what Mr. Joseph was saying about a slowdown given the pandemic. But given the tenor of the last conversation we had with Mr. Joseph on Zoom, it became apparent that it's a lot of hot air and not a lot of production. So it's time to move now, and it has nothing to do with the election.
When was the last conversation?
About 3 to 4 weeks ago. And then, of course, we wanted to engage Mr. Hauser as our counsel, so, you know, we had to work with his schedule as well.
And you've not heard back from him at all since then?
We know that somebody signed for the letter on Monday, but no, there has been no communication from Mr. Joseph or his counsel relative to this letter.
Why, if she was a semi or silent partner, have you reached out to them to see if they found anything? Or?
No, this is the initial step. I'm sure that this will engender more conversations, but for now it's just to put Mr. Joseph on legal notice that he has 60 days to cure or do the right thing, or we'll see him in court.